Hey and welcome to today's video. My name is Julian. On my channel, it's all about making you crypto fit. So that means we discuss stuff like decentralization, blockchain, cryptocurrencies, decentralized finance, most of all stuff around Bitcoin, but of course, a lot of different things. And today we talk about a global revolution, and I'm not exaggerating. We're talking about the very first country that has actually established a blockchain law. And that's very fundamental, it's foundational. And we're talking about the blockchain law in Liechtenstein. That was passed, I think it was actually passed on October 3rd. Right now is October 5th. Might be there was a different day, but it's really recent. And that blockchain law is getting into effect beginning of 2020. And it is revolutionary because of this container model. And this container model is very interesting. And the entire law is actually gonna create the foundation of how to connect real-world assets onto the blockchain. And this is a very fundamental question, because the question, for example, let's do something super simple. Let's use gold. So let's say you have this ounce of gold, and let's say we put it into a safe, and it's really protected, and then the bank who has the safe creates a token, and it's a gold token. Now, how in front of the law, in front of a judge, do I go and say, hey, listen, this is my gold? Well, I can say I own the token, but you cannot really own tokens. The only thing you can own is a private key. And a private key can control the token. So there's a lot of things that change dramatically from what's happening in the physical world versus what's happening in the blockchain world. And this is very important. So the question is, what does Liechtenstein do here that's so revolutionary, and how could this be adopted to other countries? And so I reached out to the lawyer, Thomas Nägele. I know him really well, and I asked him for some feedback. I want to share that with you briefly because I think that's really fundamental, and then afterwards I'm going to show you some basic ideas. So Thomas wrote, so I asked him, hey Thomas, I'm making a video around YouTube, on YouTube for this law. Congratulations that you passed all this. Would you give me a brief statement? And then he said, hey, of course, Liechtenstein with its blockchain law, and what does exactly mean, I'm going to show you. It's basically kind of, on the one hand, blockchain, but also kind of futuristic technologies, creates the basis for law around the token economics. And it is actually a law that's being recognized, or that's going to be recognized globally, he says. And it would obviously be great if this basic concept around the token container model would be adopted in all the other countries. And I completely agree with him. If you want to check this out, what he does some really amazing stuff. If you need any kind of legal help, I'm not getting paid by him, nothing. I just think he does great work for the entire blockchain space. But so check out his legal firm, Nägele.law. He does some top-notch stuff, and he was one of the main contributors in this entire blockchain law in Liechtenstein. He's actually gonna come to a meeting on the 9th of November. Where I am, so yeah, it's gonna be great. Gonna be a lot of questions, I'm sure, for people for him. So he's gonna, I think that's really fantastic. Yeah, he's in Bangkok, obviously. Cheers to Bangkok on holidays, I assume, or I can't believe he's replying during his holidays. But great work. Maybe he's there for a business trip. I don't know. So how does this kind of law work? And you can go to his website, and then you can get all the details there. I'm gonna link it up below. But so basically, and that's copyright. That all this is created by them, right? So all the creatives and everything there, I'm taking it and I'm just kind of explaining this. Basically, the entire concept here is that whatever kind of asset you have, so you have all these different types of assets, currencies, commodities, any kind of assets, even cars, can be a watch, could be knives, it doesn't matter. Could be medicine, it's irrelevant. Anything others. Anything of kind of utility, and that's also really relevant, because that means it doesn't even have to be something physical at the end. It could be a concept, if you want to call it. It could be intellectual property. It can be an actual security. So it could be anything. And basically, you're putting this into a token, and they call this a container. So you tokenize this. And now this is where it gets really relevant. So now this asset has a right. And this is the very key thing in this entire concept here. So this token legally represents the right to this asset. And this gets very relevant because, and this is how the law is kind of structured, the disposal over the token results in disposal over the right. And this is fundamental. So whoever can control that token, and that's why this word is chosen very specifically, disposal. Disposal over the token, so it's not the ownership because that's difficult. Disposal over the token results in disposal over the right. And this is super relevant. So this token, and here you can see this container basically, and this is the very smart idea. So it's not so much about what's in there, it's the container that gets regulated. And how you actually put this in there, we're gonna talk about this here. You can see this in service providers, so we're gonna get there. But this is where it's interesting. So the token is a piece of information on the system, and you can see this here, TVTG. So that's token, and here, trusted technologies. So that's the interesting thing. Any kind of trusted technology service provider act. So very, very interesting. Legal framework. So it can represent claims or rights of memberships against a person, rights to property, or other absolute rights, and is assigned to one or more of these identifiers. And so we're going to talk about what this actually means. So it's assigned over. And so this is going to be relevant because obviously you will have some trusted third parties here, and who this could be, we're going to discuss this. But so what the massive kind of upsides of this is, this token, on the one hand, it completely legitimizes, completely. Because now for the very first time you have a country with a law there, and I hope that many other countries are actually kind of adopting this. I'm actually meeting someone from MAS here in Singapore next week, and I'm actually going to be discussing this because I really feel Singapore should also move. I think all the countries should move exactly in this direction, and they could just copy paste that. I mean, they did all the great work, right? And then suddenly, whatever is in this container can be transported. It could be transported anywhere with the underlying right. So this is where it gets really interesting. So the car could stay somewhere, but then the right could move around. And this is where it gets very, very interesting in this concept. So now obviously the only question is, who makes sure that in this entire concept here, whatever you put into this container, into the token, who actually makes sure that it doesn't get copied, for example, that the same token to a car gets sold twice. And so now obviously here we have some trusted third parties. And you can read the entire law. It's, I think, 300 pages. It's quite extensive. And I didn't read the entire law, but I saw a presentation with some summaries. And so the idea here is you will have these service providers that will be very specifically selected. You will have to go for different kind of assets here, you will have different kind of regulations. So it has to be a regulated entity, for example, or it has to be a governmentally recognized institution. So it cannot just be every Joe around the corner who says, yeah, give me your gold, and in return, I'll give you a token. This is not going to work. So there has to be some very, very clear kind of limit set. And so that's a very, very fundamental thing. But now you have this legal certainty. On the one hand, and this is really where it gets interesting, you actually have civil law. So this is something that's very relevant. So you could start suing someone if something goes wrong here, and it's recognized by law. This obviously is relevant also for corporate law, especially for securities, for example, when doing due diligence. So this gets incorporated there because obviously whoever is these service providers, there needs to be some security and some fundamentals here. And then at the end, whoever controls the key kind of can identify, and then here, whoever has disposal over the token has disposal over the right of this asset. And this is the fundamental link that I've been talking about, I think, for years, that, in my opinion, will bring other use cases other than digital use cases. Currency, the reason currency works so well is because it's digital. But now suddenly we're gonna actually see other use cases come onto the blockchain in a super, super revolutionary way. And yeah, I'm gonna link all the details up below. You should have really a kind of heads up for this. Check this out. If you are a regulator, you want to reach out to Mr. Thomas Nägele, I think, because this should be incorporated into your government, into your country. And obviously, if you're watching this and, well, you have connections, you should reach out. If you want the world to become crypto fit, if you want more and more people to understand the idea and understand what this token container is, this is something that's going to be very, very exciting and really, really important. So if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. I'm going to link up everything down below, also Thomas' website, and then where you can find all this stuff and you can see all the details. And yeah, if you don't want to miss the next video, and I hope you don't want to miss it, subscribe, click the like button, and I'll see you next time. Thank you so much. Yours truly, Julian.